This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. The other day, I talked about Hakeem Jeffries and the fact that we need plainly spoken people who represent us, to represent us, but who represent us. Hakeem Jeffries is one of these people. The last thing I talked about was him and his plain language about Marjorie Taylor Greene and the dangers that she presents, and her erratic behavior in committee, and the Republicans who are bowing to her. She is really in control, even moreover than the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy, who's running scared. He is sucking his thumb under his desk, looking behind his shoulder at every moment for where Marjorie Taylor Greene might be his boss. Well, right now we are in a fight for the debt ceiling once again. Remember, for the last 4 years, it hasn't been a problem. 3 times it was raised under the Trump administration. Republicans didn't argue at all. No demands, no spending cuts. It's only a matter of concern for them when there's a Democrat in the White House, because they are liars and hypocrites and grifters and charlatans, and they don't really care about doing their job and protecting the country and the country's credit rating. You know, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about fiscal responsibility from Republicans. A lot. Since Reagan, small government. We're the party of small government. And then each subsequent Republican that comes along raises the debt enormously. Donald Trump, he promised in an interview with the Washington Post and Bob Woodward, he promised to eliminate the national debt. Eliminate it, pay it all off in 8 years. And instead, he added like 25 or 30%. Our national debt right now is like 25 or 30% Donald Trump's responsibility. He added in 4 years an enormous amount. And we'll get to that because I come with the receipts. But first, I want to show you what Hakeem Jeffries said on the floor of the House, which we need more leaders to follow his lead. We need more members of the House of Representatives to talk like this. Watch this.
Mr. Speaker, what is the Republican record? President Reagan comes into office, and the first thing that he does is massive tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, and explodes the deficit. President George W. Bush comes into office, 2001, 2003, massive tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, 2 failed wars, a deep recession, explodes the deficit. President Trump comes into office, first thing he does in 2017, massive tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, the GOP tax scam. 83% of the benefits going to the wealthiest 1% in America, explodes the deficits. How dare you lecture America about fiscal responsibility when the record shows that Democrats are the party of job creation and reducing deficits, and Republicans are the party of tax cuts for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, and exploding the deficit. So we're not going to stand here and allow you to lecture us about fiscal responsibility. What this is an effort to try to extract deep, painful cuts on everyday Americans.
You know, I heard today in an interview, Angus King, an independent senator from Maine, he said, you know, because Republicans always say, well, any household in America, you can't keep blah, blah, blah. You need to balance the budget and all this nonsense. Making an analogy that just doesn't work because of household finances. You can't print money in your local house. So it just doesn't make any sense. But he said that in your household, when it's time to balance the checkbook, you don't throw away the credit card bills and not pay those because you need to balance your budget. And that really is a good analogy for what the Republicans want to do here, because raising the debt ceiling has nothing to do with current budgets. Raising the debt ceiling authorizes the government to service the debt that has already been committed to. Money that's already been spent that we didn't have, is what they say. So I want to talk about this because I think it's great, him saying, how dare you? Don't lecture us about fiscal responsibility when it's your guys have really put us in this position. I got this chart here. Easy to follow. I searched around. There was a whole bunch of them, but some of, it's financial and it gets complex. This is really pretty easy to follow along. Ronald Reagan in office for 8 years. Money was different then, $1.86 trillion, $1,860 billion, raised the deficit by 186%. Ronald Reagan, remember, small government, fiscal responsibility, jacked up the defense budget. Crazy. Put us in debt. George H.W. Bush, a different kind of Republican than exists today, not so much. Bill Clinton, 31.64%, raised it. George W. Bush comes along, triples the 31%, 105%. He raised the deficit or the national debt. Barack Obama, largely having to pay for Republican mistakes relative to deregulation of the banking and investment markets with the Great Recession, 69%, still reasonable. Donald Trump, in office for 4 years, raised the debt by $8.2 trillion and up by 40%, 40.5% nearly. 4 years. Remember the guy who said he was going to pay the entire national debt off in 8 years. And then Joe Biden, he's been in office, a little bit of time, 6.33%. So who is it that we have to blame here? Who should be lecturing whom about the debt? It's not Republicans and all of their virtue signaling and nonsense propaganda is just that. Claiming that they're the party of fiscal responsibility, that Kevin McCarthy and his shadow boss, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that they somehow have the moral authority on this matter, when it's Democrats who have performed far better over the years than Republicans, because every accusation is an admission of guilt with these projection artists. We need more Hakeem Jeffries, plain-spoken, powerful people who will tell it like it is and call balls and strikes. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. More importantly, though, mix it up in the comments. It helps to trick, the algorithm. The more engagement on a video, YouTube will recommend that video to new viewers who might then subscribe, and we can grow this operation together. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore, just about everywhere where there's social media. And if you appreciate what I do, you want to support and produce what I'm doing here, take a part in creating these videos, you can click the join button below, become a channel member for $1.99 a month, or even better yet, you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt I love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for engaging with my content and having a conversation in the comments and everything you do. I love you and I appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.